Alright, go ahead. What's the question?
Okay, so from one of your subscribers, he writes, I was wondering if you can make a video on UFC and cage fighters and how the sport looks disgraceful after Anderson Silva got caught doping again and Conor McGregor slapping and pushing Bellator personnel after a fighter he supports won a fight. I agree that these cage fighters are not setting a good example for people who look up to them. MMA fighters right now are not viewed in a positive light due to their actions. I like your opinion on these fighters' conduct and how they are not a good influence on those who follow them. Thank you.
Well, I just want to say first that I appreciate the person's support, and sharing my thoughts. And, I want to, I want to speak about it, but not so much like in a bashing on them way, but just kind of more of a respectful way. As far as Anderson Silva being on steroids, I don't follow these people. I don't really know anything about it because I choose to stay away from negative energy. I rather look at things more positive to help me better myself. Sometimes it's hard to explain, but every time I watch, from the first day that I've ever seen the cage fighting, it didn't feel good for me within. Like, it just didn't feel good to see people being so overly violent towards one another, overly aggressive. Like, as a martial artist or somebody who's been practicing for a long time, as soon as I saw that, I didn't like it, and as the years went on, it just kept building where the more issues that I saw with it and the problems that I had. And the main thing that I had an issue with was them calling it martial arts and people associating the martial arts with what was happening within that cage. As far as the information with Anderson Silva being on steroids, I'm not a fan of any of the fighters, like none of them. Like anybody that's in the UFC, I don't support that. But some of the people that I do train, a lot of people have mentioned to me, hey, I don't like UFC either, but I do, but I like Anderson Silva. He's the best that I've seen out there. And there are people out there that like him. Even my close martial art friend in college, even he liked Anderson Silva. Another guy that I trained, Bang, likes Anderson Silva. There's a lot of people that I've met that they like Anderson Silva. They said, hey, he was talented and he was doing these techniques and he was actually doing martial arts and he was just so good compared to everybody else. I never really seen the guy much fight. All I saw was one of the videos where he broke his leg when he was trying to do like a roundhouse kick on somebody. He got blocked. He got checked with the knee, and then his leg got broken. And but as far as him being on steroids, it just looks bad for all sports because you see it in cycling, you see it in baseball, you see it in the Olympics and the track runners. Of course, you see it in pro wrestling. I've heard boxers being on it, and cage fighting is like I've made the statement in the past. It's like you're willing to do like some of the most dirtiest acts that humans can possibly do legally, and why wouldn't you take steroids? You're willing to go into the cage, risk your life potentially, get CTE, die early, get Alzheimer's, get dementia, get concussions, get broken teeth, get broken bones. Not only are you willing to destroy your health and your body, but you're more than willing to destroy your opponent's health and their body. So then why wouldn't you take steroids? What side effects are you afraid of? What? You don't want pimples on your back? What, you're afraid to die, that you might die a little bit earlier? You're afraid you might get a heart attack? Like, steroids is like absolutely like nothing compared to actually engaging in the type of violence that they're engaging in for entertainment purposes or for money or whatever the case may be. So it's like almost automatic that if they have the opportunity to get an edge over their opponent, that they would take steroids to have that edge. And I think Anderson Silva is just the only one, he's just the person that ended up getting caught. But most people a lot of the fighters will probably take the steroids and not get caught. So it's a problem not just within the UFC, but just within all sports. And I'm sure in football, there's people that take steroids. So I don't respect just athletes in general that take steroids and then they're not honest about it, because it just gives people a false perception of what is real and what is achievable and what is pretty much based on the science of that drug. So I don't support that at all. I don't support the UFC. I don't support Anderson Silva. As far as Conor McGregor, I was never a fan of him. When he fought Mayweather, I actually wanted Mayweather to win and perform, to win the match. And Mayweather did win the match. And my point is, and I made this statement in the past, is that the UFC fighters are not really truly exemplifying true talent, as far as the combatives are concerned. They're not the best punchers, they're not the best kickers, they're not the best ground fighters. They're not really the best in anything, in my opinion. They're just people that are basically the most willing to be aggressive, the most willing to fight out of anger, to get out of control, and to just basically just beat on people without any sort of compassion. I have more respect for boxing, even though boxing is dangerous in itself, but I respect boxers a lot more. So you'll see me making videos talking about certain boxers like Floyd Mayweather Jr. or Muhammad Ali, or sometimes I might talk about Mike Tyson. I made a video recently talking about Anthony Joshua, and another person asked me about Andre Ward. I've seen Pacquiao box, and he's I thought Pacquiao was pretty good. Boxing and UFC, to me, I would respect boxing a lot more than UFC. And when Bruce Lee was alive, he respected boxing as well. He looked up to Muhammad Ali. And if you look at Bruce Lee's teachings, a lot of his teachings are based on boxing techniques as well. And I feel that a lot of the cage fighters, they're amateur boxers compared to the real professional boxers. And I feel that a lot of these cage fighters, if they try to compete in professional boxing, that they would pretty much all lose. So I really feel that the UFC as an organization is really not necessary. Like, it's better to be eliminated and just to stick to the pure boxing as Americans are used to. There's already there was Thai boxing out there that's been existing for so long. And there's other forms of competition in combat sport like judo and all these other things in other countries. But America's always been known for boxing. And I think that they should just stick to that, And I think that, as far as role models are concerned, they're just UFC fighters. I feel that they're just, none of them would serve to be a good role model. I don't think that people should get involved in cage fighting. I don't even think they should get involved with boxing. I think that they should just train in the martial arts and be re-inspired by Bruce Lee's work from the past and just other people who remind you of Bruce Lee. People are better off looking up to Jet Li, and or some of these other people that are practicing the martial arts. Maybe even Donnie Yen, or some people that they might follow on YouTube that are training with more balance and striving towards like health and exemplifying skill and talent, but not necessarily having to beat down people just because they can. And I think that's part of the reason why I'm doing this work is to try to get people to see something more holistic within the martial arts, that's showing more of the softer and gentle side, the more compassionate side of the martial arts, not excluding the skill and the talent, not excluding the ability to hurt others when necessary, but also the other sides, the intellectual sides, and the sides where you're teaching people about life and developing wisdom. That's what Bruce Lee did with his books and his movies, and you know, there's quotes in his movies that people will remember, you know, the art of fighting without fighting, you know, or like that scene in the Enter the Dragon where he's pointing at the moon. He said, don't focus on the finger, but look at the moon and its heavenly glory. And he's talking about like focusing on the truth and not on the person. You know, and that's a deep Eastern teaching. And he's teaching philosophy through the martial arts. And Bruce Lee was not fighting in a cage, and he wasn't even fighting in a boxing ring. And he was making movies to try to educate people, to help people get better, and to train in the martial arts, but to use it in the right ways. And that's part of my work as well. Is I want to create material out there that will help better society, not make people more aggressive and angry and violent. And I don't care who it is in the UFC, but I just don't support that organization as a whole. To me, you know, it might make some people angry for me to say this, but to me, it's like how some people might view the Ku Klux Klan. I mean, they just can't support it because it doesn't follow along with their ideals. I mean, you got this organization that's promoting racism, and people will be like, I can't support that. I don't care who's in it. I don't care how charismatic the person is. I will not support that organization. And that's how I view the UFC according to the values of the martial arts. It's the direct opposition, you know, to what the martial arts is supposed to represent. Is that organization, and no matter who's involved in it, no matter if it's Anderson Silva, Conor McGregor, Royce Gracie, or whoever that's involved in it, I do not support it. I cannot support it. And I'll continue to speak against it, you know, as long as I express my way in the martial arts. Because to me, I feel that Bruce Lee's energy is living through me, and his wisdom is speaking through me. You know, because not only did I study Bruce Lee, but I studied, you know, the Tao Te Ching. I studied like the Eastern values, the teachings of Buddha, you know, the teachings of you know, Osho, the teachings of Zen, the teachings of meditation. I've integrated that into my expression. And these are all things that Bruce Lee was pointing to. And not just Bruce Lee, but if you look into Shaolin Kung Fu, the Chinese martial arts, you see these Chinese martial art masters in China, they're pointing you towards a spiritual experience within the martial arts. They're not talking about this type of violent behavior. But at the same time, the UFC is having an influence into China, and they're going into China as well. And there's Chinese people that are practicing this type of fighting as well. And I don't support those people either. But that's my view on it. And, you know, people are free to watch what they want to watch and be influenced by what they want to be influenced by. But I have that freedom as well. You know, I choose not to watch it. I choose not to support it. And I want to connect with people who share my values so we can build a community that represents energy that's something different than what that's representing, you know. And they have the right to do what they're doing, and I have the right to build my own community and train my own way into according to the values that I feel that the martial arts is supposed to represent, you know. So but that's what I have to say about that.